No question that people feel these restrictions are unjustified, and all over the United Kingdom, at a time when we should be looking forward to the new year, I think people's anger is growing. We're going to go to some calls. Felicity is in, I think, Belfast. Felicity, good afternoon. What's the mood in Belfast?
Oh, well, mutinous amongst some of us, but very acquiescent among many others. Our media does not comment or challenge anything, as has been the case throughout much of the UK, and that's one of our problems. One of the really frightening changes that we've now got in Northern Ireland starting yesterday is that you're probably all aware, those of you using masks to go into some places, if you're exempt, you can actually say to the people at the door or whatever, I'm exempt, and that's it. People don't challenge you. In Northern Ireland from yesterday, if you are medically exempt, you must prove that to anybody who asks you why you're not wearing a mask. So you have to produce evidence.
So you have to produce evidence, because my understanding, and perhaps it's different in Northern Ireland, but I understood that they weren't allowed to ask you for evidence.
Yeah. Until yesterday, it was announced last week, merely as an adjunct to various other things. And the other thing is that if you have psychological stress, for example, having been a rape victim, and you cannot wear a mask, it's not a medical condition about breathing, but a psychological condition, they have abolished that exemption. So if wearing a mask gives you psychological stress and would mean you couldn't do it, you basically can't go shopping, you can't go to a restaurant, you can't go to a bar. That's what's been done to us, on top of other army stuff. But this one is particularly cruel, I think.
And I mean, I just, it does feel cruel. And, it seems to me, issues in Northern Ireland, you've got so many other issues to do with the protocol, challenges of getting supplies of goods from the rest of the UK anyway. Mm-hmm. But to be looking across at England, where we haven't got these restrictions, must be sort of doubly infuriating.
Well, absolutely. My husband and I recently visiting London, and it was just as all the hysteria was ramping up, but we still were struck by the fact that, for example, we can go into a bar or a restaurant in London and nobody was asking us to prove our vaccine status. We have that here as well in Northern Ireland. And of course, the mask thing, it was merely if one was exempt. Nothing was said to you. And if if somebody had said it, you merely said, I'm exempt, and that's it. Now in Northern Ireland, vaccine status, and if you have a problem, you're going to have to show the man on the door what it is medically that means you can't wear a mask. It's not exactly a nice environment for people to live in.
It doesn't sound it, Felicity. It really doesn't. And how hopeful are you that if the data continues in the current direction across the whole of the UK in terms of reduction in number of cases and ICU hospitalisations, that actually these restrictions in Northern Ireland might be lifted straight after the new year?
Well, I would be delighted if they were. I'm not hopeful. We have an odd government structure here. We have this compulsory coalition where the largest party, which is here the DUP, the Democratic Unionist Party,
yes,
they are opposed to most of these restrictions, right? But because of the way our system works, the other parties are forcing it through. Our health minister is a member of the Unionist Party. It's one of the smallest parties in government, but he has this sort of power, and the other smaller parties are supporting him. We have a chief medical officer, every bit as worshipped as your chief medical officer, and what Mr McBride says just goes, and I really worry that the numbers will just be ignored and we will just continue off. The only blessing we have is, like your Welsh commentator earlier, there's not the money for furlough, so they can't actually lock us down, but it's death by 1,000 cuts for a lot of small
again,
businesses.
it sounds to me as though you've got a double combination of the smaller parties in the coalition playing party politics, mm-hmm, and in a sense, everybody looking for more money from Westminster. Felicity, thank you very much for those thoughts from Belfast. We're going to go from Belfast up to Norwich, where we've got Jamie